Hi everybody, Colleen O'Neill here from Mediation and Beyond YouTube channel. So excited to continue in my series of divorce with Galit Romanelli from Israel. She's a coach, a mom. She's founder of M.Other Milk, whose passion for gender and female empowerment drives her to bring women together to openly share and care for each other. She's a coach with her husband, who's also a family therapist at Potential State, and deeply believes in the importance of owning one's narrative combined with gentle advocacy to create positive change. And she strives to create authentic spaces where everyone feels welcomed and empowered to share their story. She uses her professional skills and, which is really important, personal experiences to help people feel seen and heard. So Galit, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Series.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen.
We've been doing a series. If you haven't watched on divorce through the eyes of a child was our first conversation, and then through the eyes of a wife, which was our second conversation, and then to round it out and kind of make it complete through the eyes of a mother. So Galit, thanks so much, because I think this is one of the most important topics, is how divorce or being a child of divorce informs us as mothers and our relationship, not only as mothers, but then we still are wives.
Right.
And
right.
how you balance all that out with having the background you do of being a child of divorced parents.
Right. So we spoke a little bit about this, and I have to say that I really feel like I prioritize my relationship with my husband, I would even say, over my relationship with my kids. I think it's really, really important for me that our relationship be good and healthy, and the relational space between us be good and healthy, because that's where the kids are growing up, like in that relational space. And also, you know, I think about it, and you and I kind of briefly talked about it, that at the end of the day, my kids are supposed to leave and go and be autonomous and find their own relationships. And I don't know, I've watched my mom kind of, you know, she's older now, and now she actually is in a relationship. She has a boyfriend, but there was a while where she was on her own, and getting older and being alone is really hard and sad. And I think that as a child of divorce, that's kind of where I felt almost responsible of, like, well, you know, when should we go for dinner, and reaching out, and how is she doing, and you know, is she lonely, and I don't want that. I don't want that for my kids. I want them to go and live their lives and have their relationship. And you know, she never kind of puts that on me, but it is something that I think about. And so yeah, I want to ensure that I have my life partner with me when my kids are off living their lives.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to.
Yeah, no, I know we spoke earlier, because like you said, your children are supposed to leave, but your partner's not. And in order for the partner not to leave, you have to prioritize the marriage. And through my eyes and through the work I've done, I have seen that I think men do a much better job at prioritizing their responsibilities, which are to their wives and then to their children. But I think men do a really good job at putting their wives first and then put the children, where women, once we have children, our husbands, our partners can tend to take a back seat.
Right.
And we move the kids up front. And then it's mom and children driving the car, and dad's sitting in the back seat.
Right. And that,
like, that's not going to help him feel important and loved.
Right. And then, you know, when the nest kind of becomes empty, you're like, who is this person? And now what am I supposed to do? And Israel also especially is a very kind of children focused society. There's every family here is like, there's a lot of pressure to have at least 3 kids, and moms are super involved, and kind of what you're describing is like the default, and And I've heard so many moms kind of, you know, when the kids start growing up and start, you know, leaving the house, then they're kind of like at a loss of like, well now what? You know, now, and I don't want that. You know, I really want, first of all, for them, I want them to be able to go off and have relationships and not kind of look back and, are they okay? Is mom okay? Is she all right? Do I need to check in? But also, you know, for me, like, he's my best friend. I want to maintain that. I want to make sure that we, you know, continue to have fun, that we continue to challenge each other, that we continue to seek out each other's company. So that, you know, when it's, again, just the two of us, that's comfortable, that's familiar, that's fun, that's exciting. And like you say, if you don't invest in that kind of now and throughout, then there's going to be this big kind of gap.
Do you think that having your parents divorce, that's what got you really thinking about, like, I have to invest in this partnership because I don't want to go down that road, and so what do I need to do to not go down that road? And I love my children, which I'm sure you love your kids.
Most days.
Not during COVID. What do you notice you do that makes you know that you're putting your marriage first?
Oh, I'll tell you, my kids say it. That my eldest is like, you love dad more than you love us. And I'm like, yeah, dad's my best friend. Yeah. You'd rather spend time with him. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I would. You're right. So I know I'm doing something right, because that's the feedback that I'm getting.
That's awesome. I love that they see that. Like, then you know you're doing something right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, they, you know, and it also means that we're communicating it clearly.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I want to spend time with dad. Yeah, I want uninterrupted time with him. It's important to me. It's a priority.
It's funny that something that to me and to you, which is nice to have like-minded conversations, is that something that will help keep a family strong can be considered controversial.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure that there are people that are, you know, they're like, well, if your kid is saying that, you know, then maybe, but he's not the center of he's not the be all. I mean, not that my husband is the center of my world either, but yeah, I want my kids to know that my relationship to their dad is at the forefront and is kind of what's really important, because they may not realize that. Sorry?
Can you share can you give an example of like one or two things that you might do that that lets your children know that Asael is at the forefront, you know, that he's important to you?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we try to dedicate time where the kids we'll carve out time and have the kids stay with their grandparents so that we can have kind of alone time. And we'll be very explicit about it, that, you know, this is time for us to spend time with each other and to kind of focus on our relationship and to have, you know, time just for us. And we'll do that as, you know, as often as we can, all things considered and everything. And the other thing that we do is every Saturday we take 1 hour to ourselves, and we tell them, you know, and it's in the afternoon, so like they know, and you know, we say, you know, we're going into the room, we're closing the door, this is our hour, and you know, we're not to be interrupted, and this is our time. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's also important because I think, you know, they're awake, they're aware, they see that like this is something that's important for us, that we're dedicating time to spend, you know, whether we're reading or we're napping or we're watching TV, whatever. But it's, you know, it's
how old are your kids?
Saf, my eldest, is 8.5. He's a boy, and Lila is 6.
So do they come knock on the door? Do they try to open? Like, do they know and they really honor that?
So they do test the boundaries a little bit, but usually, look, they're also kind of older now, and so and I think that's part of also why we did it, because we wanted them to appreciate that, you know, there is an hour in the day of our day of rest where you do not where, you know, we're not to be interrupted. So what they'll do is kind of at the beginning, they'll kind of like peek and open the door and kind of like, she did this, he did that. But then all we do is we tell them that, like, well, the hour starts as soon as you leave us alone. So if you want to, you know, if you want to keep wasting our time, it's going to be, you know, an hour later. So then they get that we're serious, and then that's it.
They get it. I love that though, because then that becomes part of their story growing up, that my mom and dad took time for their marriage, for themselves. And like that becomes part of their story. And then, you know, they're going to be sitting on here in, you know, 20 years, and someone's going to ask them, you know,
well, what did your parents do? Yeah.
What did you like? What was one of your takeaways? And Lila's going to say, well, you know, I take an hour on the weekends with my husband, right? Like, I love that. Like, I think that you're giving them things to take forward that can be very helpful for them.
Thank you. I hope so. I really hope so.
And I think that's the good part of, like, being a mom is honoring the husband, the dad. Being a good mom is honoring the dad, and being a good dad honors mom.
Right.
Being a good mother doesn't necessarily just honor the kids.
Right. Exactly. In fact, I think we're able to do a better job when we invest in that relational space and kind of model what a good relationship between two adults who love each other and respect each other, care for each other, are kind to each other, what that looks like.
Well, that's really all parents are models. Like,
right.
I mean,
it's so hard. It's so hard. But that's
well, I love that, and I'm grateful that you can share that because I think you're maybe one of the only people I've talked with that, and I didn't expect that either. I didn't know what we were going to talk about in terms of like what your thoughts were, but you and I are very like-minded like that, where that partner has to be first, and none of us are raised that way for the most part. So I love that you're changing family legacy and dynamics.
Thank you.
Something that hopefully, as you do that, we'll have less of these rising divorce rates, right? Because people will be partnering up.
Yeah.
Honoring each other. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Colleen.
So helpful, and I'm excited to put it up and have people watch and learn. So thank you so much. Well, I'm sure I'll be back in touch.
Yay. Wonderful. Right. Thanks so much, Colleen.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye.